the episode, they get a chance to interview for their dream job.
What's been the most interesting for you? Second chance that somebody's gone after.
Wow, the most interesting. You know, it's hard to say because I don't really look at it from the standpoint of the career fields because it really crosses the gamut. I mean, White House chef, sailor, football coach, which I'm familiar with, choreographer. I mean, it's really across. So it's not so much about the careers. It's more about the stories of what took them away from their dream. But then more importantly for me is that when you get into the stories, you kind of think that the reason that they're not chasing their dream was because of whatever it was that life threw at them. But what you find out in each of the episodes is that each person has something individual that really is what's keeping them from chasing their dream. It's not so much what took them away from it that's stopping them. It's something internal, some conflict that they're dealing with that they have to eventually overcome if they're ever going to be able to chase that. And that's really what, to me, was the most interesting, is that I thought it would simply be, well, you know, that door closed, and so that's why I gave up on my dream. But we're finding out it goes deeper than that. And I think that's what's really going to relate to the audience, is that everybody's going to be able to look at their lives and go, okay, why am I where I'm at, and why am I not chasing what I really want to do?
Are you involved in production at all in the choosing of these people?
No, I was not involved in the first season of doing that. You know, the great thing is that after having some episodes on, the number of people that, you know, have come and nominated people for the show have been, you know, so much greater than the first season. So I'm excited to see where we go if we get a second season.
Can you give an example of a way that someone was standing in their own way, and have you learned a way to help get to that point and help them get past whatever was keeping them stand in their own way?
Yeah, I'll just talk about, you know, one of the episodes that's been out there already, the Sports Illustrated sports photographer. You know, one of the things that you find out in the episode is that she's so attached to her father that her mom unfortunately committed suicide, and she was so afraid that her father was going to leave her at some point, that if she went and chased her dream and, you know, really put herself out there or moved or did anything, she was afraid that her dad was going to disappear too, like her mom did. And so it was the one thing that, although, you know, you looked at the different things in her life and say, well, this is why I'm not, this is why I'm not, we ultimately came to the understanding that she couldn't get past the fact that he was going to be there, he was going to love her, and that, bottom line, he wanted her to chase and do what she wanted to do, but that was holding her back. And so, yeah, that is one of the things that I think in each episode, you go in, especially with reality television, you go in and you really have no idea where it's going to go. You have no idea what's going to come out. And I don't even know when we started the show if we really expected that. We thought it was more, we're going to share their backstory, what stopped them, give them another chance, and that's what the show is going to be. And then each episode, we saw that continue to develop. And that became a big part of it because, again, we realized that a lot of people at home are going to be in that same situation, that they're going to have something that prevents them from going any farther. And we may use the excuse that, well, that door closed or this happened to me, but ultimately there's something else that's preventing us. And we do, you know, we come to that resolution, I think, in every episode where it at least helps them to overcome that obstacle and jump in and really chase after their dream. That doesn't ultimately mean that they're going to achieve it or they're ultimately going to get the job, but it helps them, I believe, get past something that no matter what happens at the end of the episode, they're going to apply to life, and they're going to be able to accomplish more or do more or at least step out more once the show's over.
Well, you had such a blessed career. I'm wondering, if it hadn't have gone the way you wanted it to go, what was your plan B?
You know, I didn't really have a plan B. You know, and I think sometimes, and I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but I think for me, had I developed a plan B, I don't know if plan A would have ever worked out. Had I stepped away from what I really wanted to do, and had I, you know, really dove into something else, I think it would have been hard to stay focused and to continue down the path of playing football. I mean, you know, so many things happened to me along the way where people were saying, it's time to give up, this isn't going to happen. The circumstances, like all of our hopefuls, something happened that, you know, basically stopped my dream in its tracks. And if I would have just allowed that to dictate what my future was, I don't think I'd be sitting here today. But even though I had to step away and, whether it was working in a grocery store or do the things that I had to do, I was always focused on, this is my dream. I'm going to continue to chase this to whatever degree I can. It was always there on my mind. And so when I finally got that opportunity, I was ready for it. Because had I taken those 4 or 5 years when I was kind of muddling through stuff and not been ready, there's no way I would have been able to take advantage of it. And so I really didn't have a plan B. It was what I believed I was going to do. It was what I believed I was talented to do. And I just, I wasn't ready, at least at that point in time, to go down another path. I was going to stay focused on it. And I knew, actually I was 27 when I got my second chance, that I knew it was getting closer. I mean, I knew I had to start thinking about a plan B, but I really hadn't come up with anything at that point yet.
So what did you learn? What did you learn when you write the self-help book? What did you learn?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is that never allow other people or never allow circumstances to dictate your own future. That it always should be up to you. And I think that's what I learned in the process, is that if I would have listened to the hundreds of people, even family members, that said, it's time to get a real job, it's time to go plan B, or if I would have looked at the circumstances of, every football team I could imagine said, we're not interested, and I'm working nights for $5.50 in a grocery store, if I'd have looked at circumstances and go, okay, really? Am I actually really going to go from here to the Super Bowl? If I'd allowed those things to dictate my future, I don't know where I'd be right now. And I think too often we do that. We allow what's right in front of us in our circumstances, or we allow what other people tell us about ourselves to dictate our future. And that was the biggest lesson that I want to bring to this show, and I want to bring to the hopefuls and hopefully share with our audience.
So what are you most grateful for these days yourself?
These days, man, I am grateful for, excuse me, I'm grateful for so many things. I mean, I have 7 kids, 7 healthy kids. I have a wonderful life. I'm thankful for the opportunities that I've been given. Is that I believe the Lord's blessed me with amazing opportunities. I mean, even since football was over, we talk about a plan B. When I retired from football 3 years ago, I didn't have a plan B. I didn't know, I'd done it for 30 years of my life. I really didn't know what else I could do, what was next. And I'm so blessed to have opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, whether it's hosting this show, being on my show with the NFL Network, having the opportunity to do Dancing with the Stars, doing things with my foundation. I mean, it's just so many opportunities and doors have been opened to me, and that to me is what I'm most thankful for.
Are you finding your work in reality TV to be as gratifying as your work in sports?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, I look at them very similarly. That, when I got to the NFL, and I'm fortunate now. When I was going through all those things, I would have never said, I'll be fortunate, it'll be better this way. But what I learned in that process was simply that my story had as much impact as what I did on the football field. And I came to that realization, before I even got to the NFL. So everything I did in the NFL was, I wanted to win, and I wanted to succeed, and I wanted to do all those things. But I wanted to impact people. And that became my goal, is sharing my story. The way it came, my foundation was all about impacting people. And so now that football was over, that's what I wanted to do in retirement, is I want to find things that line up with what I'm about, what my goals are, and that's impacting people. And so to be on a show like this reality show, where we're truly being able to inspire people, help people through their situations, encourage people to chase their dreams, do what they've always wanted to do, it lines right up with what I've always wanted to do, and what my legacy, what I want my legacy to be. I want my legacy to be bigger than what I did on the football field, and more about how I impacted people.
Before they take you away, this is off topic and slightly personal, but if you don't mind, I'm just curious, as a former NFL quarterback, what do you think of the recent proliferation of players coming out?
I think it's the society we live in. I mean, everything that happened on the football field and in a locker room was about different people converging to accomplish a common goal. And so, I think it's one of those things where it's unfortunate that if there was individuals that felt they couldn't make that move and they couldn't be who they were in an NFL locker room or because of the nature of the game. You know, that's a detriment to our society and to what we did as in the National Football League or in football in general. So, you know, so I'm interested to see what happens, because it is an interesting culture when you're talking about quote unquote a man's sport, a man's game, and how that is all going to be construed. But I hope that, you know, the NFL and football in general and sports in general accepts it the way that they should accept it, and be able to move forward.
So if a gay guy came on the moment and said, my big dream was always to be a quarterback in the NFL, you wouldn't be the one to say, well, that's not going to happen.
Not at all. I mean, because like I said, I mean, when you go into a locker room, just like you go into every business office, I mean, if you went around and surveyed all the different people with, you know, different faith backgrounds, with different, you know, different backgrounds of whatever sort, I mean, that's what life is. I mean, that's what this country is. It's about people coming together, converging together with so many different beliefs and maybe, you know, agree on different things or disagree on different things. And that's not what it's about. I mean, it's not about everybody having to be, you know, down this line. And, you know, I just think sports, as much as every other part of society, is made up that way. And unfortunately in our game, that's been one thing that we've heard a number of players over the years that say, you know, I'm gay, but I was afraid to come out. I was afraid what it might, you know, what, I guess, disadvantage or what negative impact that may have on my career. And there's no place for that, regardless of what it is. I mean, whether it's sexual orientation, faith background, whatever that thing is, we should never stand in the way of people being who they are and allowing that to affect their career.
Did anyone
I'm
give you
afraid we're
advice on
out of
how to do
time.
this? Sorry, just quickly, because you've got it down and you seem to know how to get your message across, especially since that was so important. Did you get any good tip on how to do this so you can hit your mark basically with your message?
Not really. I think it's one of those things. Obviously, I'm fortunate to have done this a lot in my career, but I think the bottom line is be who you are and share what you're about. And don't try to be somebody that you're not. And that's what I've learned over the years, is that I'm straightforward. I'm going to give you an honest answer, and I'm going to be who I am. I'm not afraid to share the person that I am, and I think that's been the key for me throughout my career.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.